going on? I'm Anoki the One, and this is Real Red Pill Radio, and I have some very special guests, the descendants of Aunt Jemima, the real Aunt Jemima, and I'm gonna have y'all to introduce yourselves and let us know how y'all's family connects to the Aunt Jemima brand.
I'll start. My name is Camilla Secret, and this is my mom.
I'm Juanetta Cowan, and I am the great-granddaughter of Aunt Jemima, and she was the second. There were a number of people who depicted the character of Aunt Jemima. Yeah. And there was the first one was Nancy Green, and she probably did it for about 20 years. And then when she passed, my grandmother was one of the original Aunt Jemimas, and she was from South Carolina. So we have many stories in our family about her. She was from South Carolina, and cook, back then, women cooked. And she left South Carolina with 3 children and went to a place called Syracuse, New York. And she, at that time, went to school she went to work, for Syracuse University as a cook. Yeah. And she was well known for pancakes in the frat houses. So all the kids in the community knew about her pancakes. And at that point in time is when Quaker Oats approached her to be the next Aunt Jemima. And so for about, I would say 20 years, she traveled around to places like the New York State Fair, yeah. And they would have events, and she would be dressed up in the red and white check outfit and the hat, and the scarf on her head, and she would cook when they say Aunt Jemima appearing, that meant she's going to be here, she's going to be cooking pancakes, and it just promoted Aunt Jemima brand. So after Quaker Oats approached or hired her, this, they made millions. They kept, they promoted her as the brand label for them to make millions, billions of dollars. And, as of until a few months ago, until they changed their brand and took our legacy off of their brand.
Yes. So, and what was her name again?
Her name was Anna Robinson.
Okay.
Anna Robinson Short was her name. And
she married.
She was actually my grandmother, my paternal grandmother's mother. So she died the year I was born, 1955. And so, but there were also many stories about her in the family. And she went to Syracuse, and Syracuse has a historic, in their historic part of the city. They have left, this Aunt Jemima lived here. Yeah. She fortunately was not rich, but probably had more means than the average person back in the 30s and 40s, 1930 and 40s.
Yeah, that was a Great Depression.
Right. She bought a home. Yeah. And, so that was, put you in a different class in terms of monetary, but she was tied to that image. and making money from that.
So she was doing better than the average person, period, not just the average black person, because in the 1930s and 40s, everybody was struggling at that time.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
But what she did was buy a house and use it as a boarding home. So other people who didn't have homes and that she would let them. So that that became the legacy in our family. Yeah. And so her daughter did the same and her granddaughter did the same thing. And that was kind of passed down as far as just being that helping hand to the community. She was definitely that.
For that time period, because my grandpa, 91 years old, he was born in 1930, and he knows about the struggles that people were having in the 1930s. And he's also told me about how he would see Aunt Jemima, like her depiction when he would be working at restaurants and different things like that. Right. And it's interesting because when he talks about Aunt Jemima, it's like a sense of pride when he talks about her from back then, like during those times. So how do y'all feel when you hear people talking about Aunt Jemima basically in a negative connotation, as if she was a slave, or it's like, how do y'all feel about that?
Well, I've said this before. I had mixed feelings. I was very proud that was my grandmother, and I was attached to her legacy because, look, as we said, financially, you're a single parent, and your husband has left because for some reasons back in the day, the man and the woman were separated, and he couldn't be there for the family, so she was able to do so much to stay with her family and to raise her children. So I am so proud of that. However, a kid, and they're telling you, I hear my mother, I hear my grandmother saying that Aunt Jemima was tied to us. It was a negative connotation because people were like, "Oh, ain't your mama on the pancake box?" I'm like, "Yeah, she is." She really is. So it was a negative because the mammy look and the Stephen Fenton look and all of those connotations. But I get that, but also a sense of very much pride for our family, to have that legacy and to be able to just take care of my grandmother and her siblings, and in the midst of just coming out of slavery.
Right. Yeah.
Just coming out of slavery, and what else could you do but know how to cook or clean for white people? That's basically what your avenues were. So I feel a sense of pride, and I understand that there were some groups maybe who went to Quaker Oats and said, Black Lives Matter, that's a negative image for Black people, and we need to take it down. And I agree, the image is a negative in a sense, but they utilized the image. They kept, for years and years utilizing when the image was, when that particular model for Aunt Jemima was over.
Yeah.
There was nothing else, no other royalties, no other financial incentives for the family. And so now if you take that, say, well, I think it's Mills
Pearl Milling
Company was the name of it now. So if you go in the store, you don't see anything related to the image, or you wouldn't have any prior knowledge, which we do, that this was connected to these Black women who portrayed Aunt Jemima. It's a bad feeling. Yeah. It's almost like it's almost what I feel like it's almost like we need the family needs a reparation.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I feel. That and what is reparations? Incentives for using these women for all these years for profits of billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And now you say, oh, well, it was racist. We shouldn't have did that. Oh, hello.
Yeah. 100 years later.
This is my thing. It's like they started this. We never came to them and said, well, we want you to stop using this name because it's racist. Yeah. The families never, and that's a lot of the feedback that we had started getting. It's like, well, didn't you ask? Like, no, we never asked for that. What we asked for was fair compensation, because just as if you think about it, there was a time where Quaker Oats wasn't Quaker Oats.
Yeah.
And what we've done our research on is basically that Aunt Jemima and Quaker Oats brand dominated for years in the breakfast market. Yeah. And there was a point of time where they started to change their formula. There was a point of time where they changed the imagery on the pancake boxes. And that kind of aligns with who was their representative at the time. And that's what our argument has always been. If you're using her image and you've changed the image so many times, but it was her image on top of when you met this person, our great grandmother, she was making pancakes.
Yeah.
So she became an asset for you guys. Mm-hmm. So who knows if it wasn't for certain things happening in the past, would they have this big, the Pepsi conglomerate? You know what I mean? Like, you know, like how long were they making money off of our backs? And then just say, well, we realized that after how many years? Now this racist.
Well, to look at it, it was a milling company. They had flour. They just needed someone
they needed a recipe.
They needed to know what to do with it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So they provided, these Black women provided a means. So, we can make pancakes.
And this isn't the first time. And we talk about, Jack Daniels and Uncle Ben's. And, like this isn't a thing that hasn't happened before. This isn't something that it hasn't happened. And for them to open their mouth and say, well, we think that we use the racist imagery. Because obviously, if you put a Black woman on that, you're trying to appeal to a certain audience.
Yeah.
You did that for that familiarity, so that this feels like home. You use this image in a way that was racist.
Yeah, and in some ways, it's like when I think of Aunt Jemima, I think when I get the product, I'm thinking I'm getting her food. So it's like my thing is like, I feel like at this point, sometimes they are weaponizing racism, like the term racism, to erase us without actually doing anything. Like you see all these companies with banners, we're anti-racist, invest in anti-racism, but these same companies are benefiting from what we've created, but they're erasing us off of it. So like it would be one thing if they came to you, like Black Lives Matter or any of these organizations come to you and say, what would you like us to fight for? Like, what are y'all interested in?
The reality is our family, the Anna Short Harrington family has been in litigation with Quaker Oats for years.
Yeah.
Since my grandmother was living. My grandmother died in 93, 94. Mm-hmm. So this has been something that has been long, hard fought. You know what I mean? Yeah. And just like the fight has just been passed on generation to generation. And like, so no one's ever really just come and said like, so what would you guys like? And we have family members who have great like points. Like there's not even like a statue in Syracuse. Yeah. And the kicker is that Syracuse brought the highway in and tore down her house.
Wow.
So there's not even a remembrance of her legacy in Syracuse besides her headstone. Does she even have?
Yeah, she got there. If you go up to the Oakwood Cemetery in Syracuse, New York, you'll find that there's literature there that says Aunt Jemima is buried there. So they have that, and there is some information in their historical office there that she lived and worked in the area.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a two-sided sword in terms of your feeling of pride,
yeah.
but as well as one of the things that I've heard them say recently is that they were going to contribute millions of dollars toward Black causes. Well, and that's fine, but you
first things first.
Families, yeah.
First things first.
Absolutely.
And this is the thing, because there were several actors. I mean, I implore everybody to do what they need to do as far as to fight for what's right for their family members.
Yeah.
As our family stands, she was one of the first, and there was significant changes in the company once she became the Aunt Jemima actress.
Yeah.
So that's our position from the beginning. She was already making pancakes for Syracuse University. That is known in the historic, like that. So her history before then was solidified. So you took this woman and she became an asset to your company, and and not to say she wasn't compensated fairly, because that was the thing. Like we said, she was doing well off for a lot of people
for the 1930s.
Yeah.
That was, she could be able to buy a home, but what would a house cost? $3,000 or $4,000 back there? I very, very.
But is there a question of royalties?
But there's a question, and some people say, well, is there a contract?
Yeah.
Actresses and people in the music, they got
Slaves,
beat. They got beat people, so bad because first of all, could they read a contract?
Yeah.
And was there even the thought of a contract even given to them? So that's out of the ballpark, as well as PepsiCo, who is a part of Quaker Oats as well. They will go back as far as to say, we have no information on this woman.
We have her death certificate, which stated that she worked for Quaker Oats.
Yeah.
And also her daughter, who, if you look at some of the images, like they were using the family's images as the Aunt Jemima to change it a little bit, because she was a dark-skinned woman. And I put one of the images of the Aunt Jemima next to my great-grandmother, who was her daughter. It's like a splitting image.
Yeah.
And her death certificate said that she worked for Quaker Oats.
Right.
So at what point were you using our family just to profit?
That's the thing is, racially, I mean, look, so much has happened to us, and that's why we're all yelling now. Hey, reparations. Illinois is a state now that's really looking at giving people reparations. I mean, it's amazing. But the idea that this happened to us, and ideal that this situation was you just made billions of dollars. You took these Black women and you made money over and over billions of dollars, and now you say, oh well, okay, we understand it's racist, but think about in other situations where there is racism that is in the workforce. What is that? A discrimination suit, right? And people get remedies for being discriminated against. So it's the same thing, being having years of racism embarked on you, but never gotten that compensation or the reparations, as I will say now, because that's the new buzzword.
Yeah, and I think when I've been doing my research, because I've been doing my genealogy, which has made me even have the thought, who is Aunt Jemima's people? We existed. It's a weird thing with our communities. It almost feels like we didn't exist until they decided to write about us. We have been here and we have all kinds of different stories. And I feel like they have been weaponizing racism against us, because it's like I feel like our community has a sense of shame around particular people, and I feel like it's very specific people who would actually be able to receive reparations because there's a clear, it's very specific. So like with Aunt Jemima, it's very specific. You can say, this is how much money you made, this is how long she worked, this is what she did for the company, and by them saying, okay, you know what, we figured out that this is racist, you have a whole population of black people who are only thinking about slavery, because a lot of people believe that Aunt Jemima was a slave, like she literally was a slave. So they're just angry to the point where even if she had a statue, they would be mad at the statue. They would be mad at the company. They would be mad. They'd be pulling down the statue. So it's just like, we have to like really have pride in all of our stories, because to me, we need women like Aunt Jemima, who's taking care of children, who's cooking, who not only is taking care of her own kids, but she has enough money to take care of other people's kids. So to me, that's something to be proud of. And because we don't know the full story, and we're always given like the slave narrative. Yeah, we're given, even when we could be proud of something, they throw racism on top of it. Like, oh, we like to make us not. We always have mixed feelings about our success.
Well, just think about it. In prior to Black Lives Matter, if you're in a situation, you dare not collar racism, because the other people always say, you always pulling the race card.
Exactly.
Racism doesn't exist.
Or racism doesn't exist. So now that George Floyd has a reality and we saw it with our eyes,
Right.
Yeah.
Now we understand, or you should understand, because you saw it too. It doesn't depend on what color, and this is real.
Right.
You
and
know,
we're losing
and
our lives
so this
here,
is so at the same time, just think about the years of racial discrimination you embarked on a family. So you're admitting that it's racism, but you put that on a family or families, because there was a Nancy Green that I was looking at the researching on her part was the original. Mine was the second Aunt Jemima. Yeah. They didn't even have a tombstone for this lady.
Wow.
They didn't have enough money for a tombstone,
which is ridiculous.
I'm not saying that we're the only. But we did our time. My grandmother worked and did her time to depict and be the brand for this company.
The face of it.
And the same company that you have now said, oh, by the way, I think we were racist.
Yeah.
Because you were racist and you're admitting to that, that really means that somebody is owed something.
Yeah, and it was like, it's even more like with your family, it's more than just the image. 9 times out of 10, she's helping the entire business structure, because they found her. She wasn't looking for them.
They found her making pancakes.
Exactly, being successful, doing what she doing, and they're like, oh, let's get into that. And she basically did what she was already doing on a larger scale, and they benefited from the contributions to the business because she was intelligent. She knew what she was doing. She built her own brand, and they blew it up. So it's just like, it's not just a image. It's not just a picture. Even if she created the pancake mix, that's one thing too. But she's also building the business with them
behind the scenes. And imagine how they plotted on her. Okay.
Yes.
Finding her and like, oh, this is a jewel. Let's get this lady and just use her up.
Yeah.
You know, and that was probably the norm at that time.
Yeah.
You know, it's a similar modern day situation. If you look at Popeyes, one day my husband said, "Oh, I buy Popeyes because the woman owns the Popeyes," but she does not.
Exactly.
He said he bought Popeyes because that black woman that's on TV owns Popeyes.
Right.
I said, honey, I'm sorry to tell you that No, but that's how Black woman cooking, her image is branded
selling,
and makes
right.
and sells.
Right.
But that was just a modern day example. I'm like,
yeah, it's true. And it's like, what y'all describe is almost like how they have cooking shows now, like Martha Stewart and different things like that. She was doing that in the 1800s. Like, that's crazy. And she was traveling doing that too, right?
Right.
That's amazing. That's insane. Like, she made the blueprint for what a Martha Stewart is. If it wasn't for the Aunt Jemima, that's another thing. It's just like, we need to know all of the history.
Right.
Like all of the history. And I think that what they don't want to do is talk about it, you know, because we've been trying to reach out and have an open dialogue and conversation because, like I said, there's proof of litigation for years.
And you said none of them, like the people that are basically fighting to remove the image, none of them reached out to y'all.
That's insane.
And it would have been nice for them too, because we didn't have an issue with the name. Like I said, we were more concerned with like, okay, if you're going to use the name, we should be fairly compensated.
Yeah.
But since you guys open your mouth and say, well, this is racist, it's like, well, you can't erase it.
Yeah.
You know, you just can't erase the legacy and just turn around and just make business as normal.
And how that affected a whole family, a whole legacy of people. You know, my mother, my aunt, my uncle, their children, my children, how all of that is a whole legacy. And now you say, okay, that was racist. We'll just disband that now and be done with that. That's typically not how it should work.
Yeah.
You know, and now they're saying, well, we're gonna give money, but and that's wonderful.
And Quaker Oats is saying that.
Yeah, they're saying that they're going to give money to
black organizations,
which is vague. How do you know if the black organization is run by black people? Like
right, absolutely.
Because if you search a lot of these multi-level corporations, they have one black in corporate level, and that's usually the diversity.
Yeah, they giving the money to themselves. Probably they started the organization and go make the money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But we really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. We have had limited opportunity. You know, it hasn't, you know, we would like to get our voice out more and more and let people know that she was real. She was a real human person. Right. And she was somebody's grandmother and daughter.
She was a boss.
Yeah, so
it wasn't a
my husband thought Aunt Jemima's not real. I see it, she is.
A lot of people think that.
You know.
Wow.
So you know, I think with the billions of dollars that they had, and because they depicted racism, that they should reach out to the family and have a conversation. How could conversation help your family and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren in terms of securing education and putting them to school when you're going out and saying, now we're going to help somebody else? Let's start the family.
Start with who helped you.
But who helped you build this company?
Right.
Yeah.
And my thing is also is that, you know, I'm a kind of a healthy person, healthy living, and like it's processed food at the end of the day. So like, on the other side, flip side is that, you know, you've been portraying this person and getting people to buy it because of the slave narrative, but it's not even a healthy product for us to be really ingesting.
Yeah, that's it.
Really like it's like the double kick. It's like, oh, so you're trying to kill us at the same time, you know?
Exactly. That's crazy.
So it's just like, it's really crazy. And I had a conversation with some people, but the family of Jack Daniels, if I'm not mistaken, they sued. And they were able to get a fair offer as far as like they offered them an opportunity to build their own brand.
Yeah.
With the resources and stuff that was, you know, stolen. And I felt like that's even fair. You know what I'm saying? I mean, at the end of the day, Quaker Oats dominated the breakfast market for, I want to say 30 years. That's our research.
No. I would say for the last 60 something years.
But dominated. Number one on the breakfast charts.
Oh, okay.
Dominated.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you go in the store, we still were buying Aunt Jemima. My kids love it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's still, when we buy it, it still feels like part of our lineage. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I feel like other Black people felt the same way.
All races saying, like, I feel like Aunt Jemima is my auntie. I feel like she's making this for me. Like, she's family. Like, when I get Aunt Jemima, she is family. And so, and there are, like, positive experiences and events. I talked to my grandparents, and I'm surprised how many positive events they have with all kinds of races of people. Like, if I were just to go off of just what I was taught in school, I would think Black people and white people just had a terrible time with each other the whole time, and it was just, humdrum all the time. But it's just like there is things in the middle, and things like Aunt Jemima and stuff like that. These are the types of things that bring people together. Like, we can all agree we love Aunt Jemima. Like, that's just period.
So, market. I mean, to be honest, you know?
So it's crazy, and I feel like I feel like they're weaponizing racism because they know we're passionate about that, because we have real experience. They've taken a real thing and they're using it against us to erase us to the point where we ain't gonna be no Black people in the grocery store. Like, that's what I was just thinking. It's just like, wait a minute.
No, that's really a really great interpretation of it, because at the end of the day, we know where a lot of these brands come from.
Yeah.
So don't take racism and say, well, we're going to help you by doing this.
Yeah.
Really help.
Erase it.
You know what I mean? It's not really.
Exactly. So what would be the ultimate scenario for y'all with this whole situation? Like, for example, would it be to keep the face and have a certain amount of residual, or a payout? Would y'all prefer, like, if it had to be a conversation where we're like, okay, we can't pay you out, but we can help, like what you said, Jack Daniels, help you build your brand and keep the face? What would be the perfect scenario for y'all?
So one, we know that they can pay us out. We know that for a fact. We're talking about PepsiCo and Quaker Oats. We know that as factual, that's not even an issue. I would say keep the name.
I think it would be first to have a conversation and recognition of who this lady was. Mm-hmm. There, once we have recognition and agreement that she is who she is, mm-hmm. and we are who we are because we're coming forward with this. Now there's many areas of compensation that could be made. Yes, one out payout, residual, or just to put it in a education fund for the Robinson, Anna Short Robinson family. That type of thing. Just a recognition. I want them to say that she was an Aunt Jemima, that she existed, that she was the reason that they made so much money.
Right. So
that to me is like $1 million right there. Okay, now they're saying it.
Yeah.
But they're not even saying that.
Yeah.
We're saying we know, we have proof our great-grandmother was Aunt Jemima.
Right.
Yep.
Now, I want you to say, oh, yeah, she was.
Right.
Now, we understand that it's racism, and we understand that she contributed so much to us making these billions of dollars. Now, let's have a conversation on how we can assist your family to be compensated, right. or whatever you want as a family to contribute to the community. Right. There we can talk, but we haven't gotten that far. I had a cousin who got to some litigation, and they pretty much was like, who is this lady? Who are you?
I mean, the problem with his litigation is that he couldn't prove his
lineage.
Yeah,
he had to come. He had to have a little bit more than, I can't say me as an individual can go out there and attack Pepsi Cola,
Right.
and sue them. I would have to have an attorney, and attorneys have to believe in your cause. They have to believe in the case. They have to believe in the lawsuit. And the only person that I see out there now is probably civil rights attorney, because now I'm looking at reparation in terms of not necessarily compensation for, but a reparation that would be compensation, acknowledgement that who she was and what she contributed to the company as a whole.
And we would also like more historical reference. Like, if this lady came in and helped you build $1 billion company, I would think that the company would be grateful. You should go to the Quaker Oats Museum and see a statue of Aunt Jemima. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if she was the face of the company for all these years, and I think that's where it gets really racist,
Yeah.
Because why is not because if it was a white woman, would that have been done?
Yeah.
And that's the thing about like getting our energy focused on the right things, because like I said, what a lot of people are mad about is the wrong thing. Like, a lot of people are mad about the image, like her face. Like, her face, she is not racist. She is herself. Like, why you mad at her? She ain't do nothing. She did the right things. So it's just like, we need to be mad about the fact that they're not telling us the story. We need to figure out the story and be mad about that. Like, she actually helped build this whole company, and not just be mad at her face. Like, and that's the thing, like, I feel like there is a sense of shame with parts of our history to where it's to our demise. So, like, for the Black community who feels a way just about her image, because wasn't the outfit that she was wearing on the depictions, was that what she actually wore when she was working?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's an accurate depiction.
I can remember, years after she had passed, and my grandmother had things that she had used, and with all this material. She was a big Black woman, and she was able to take those. It was a red and white checkered outfit that she was able to take and make curtains out of it because there was so much material. So yeah, that was the exact outfit that was used.
So what would be y'all's message to the Black community who is feeling a way just about her image and who she is and what she represented? Like, what do y'all want us basically to know that would help us to be able to put our energies in the right places and like basically help us get through this shame of getting these half truths and quarter truths? What would y'all want to tell the Black community?
I would like to say that she was a strong Black woman, and she birthed a lot of strong Black women, to do what she did, to take care of her family, and to also turn around and say, well, I have this now, let me help other people. Like, that was big, and it was something that I, as a child, I would go to Syracuse, and my grandmother had houses where they less fortunate if you were mentally disabled, and it became something that our family could be proud of. We adopted how many kids in the family? Like, 20, 30 kids. Like, that became something that was part of our lineage. So it wasn't that she was just a slave, like, oh yes sir, no, she was a strong Black woman.
I would just like to say that I have a proud heritage legacy, that she was Aunt Jemima, and I'm proud of that. But at the same time, all my life I've had that, that part where people had a very negative, thought it was racist. But if you got to take care of your family and feed your family, in those days, you pretty much did what you had to do.
Right.
So that part of I'm proud of. the part that, and I think people should know, she was a human being. She was a real live person. And I want them to know that she was compensated, but for well over those years that she was no longer here, they continued to make money off of the name Aunt Jemima and these women
and the
who contributed to their company. And they never thought about a family or residuals or any royalties or anything that could be compensated. So it's not, it is to some degree about the money, because we're talking about a giant that could have gave back. But now that you're saying we have been racist all these years, with that is due compensation for those that you harmed. That's usually the way it works. So I think that's where we are, and I think we need to have a conversation at the door with Quaker Oats or PepsiCo. I think is part of the company now. The doors need to be open. Communication needs to be open, just like they were open to the ideal of, I think we don't want the Black community to think we're racist. So let's get rid of the image. Okay, but getting rid of the image takes away a lot from this family. So that's where we need to have a communication.
And for them, giving back $1 million to the Black community is a tax write-off.
That too. And it's giving to people that they're choosing when they're not handling the real issue. And honestly, it's like they obviously don't want people to know who really brought their company to where it is in the first place. So it's much easier to just give it to Black.
They made this money off of the backs of Blacks. Basically.
Because when you say racism, and when you say there really was racism, in that part means that somebody was harmed.
And somebody was wrong. Like
somebody was harmed.
To someone else.
You did somebody. You as I depict now, you did a George Floyd. You had your foot on the neck of this family, the same idea for several families for years. But now, where's the compensation? Because you have a new reality of the word racism.
Yeah, and the biggest thing that my biggest thing, like, they've been raising billions and billions of dollars, like all these organizations that are like social justice, but I'm trying to figure out where's the community centers, like where's the schools? We can have our own schools. We can have our own businesses and stuff. Like, where's the Black business loan for us?
Right. Or to depict, okay, let's help some of these young people who may not go to a traditional college, who might want to get technical skills. Where's the opportunity for a Black young man to know how to be a carpenter, to know how to build something, or to be an electrician or a plumber? If you look around, where are we? Who's making a building? So we want our young brothers. We have that's a whole new issue between male and female in the Black community. Let's lift each other up.
Right. Exactly.
Let's build them. So let's have a conversation about it. Let's see what we can do and how those monies can go to a young Black man who has been in jail for a weed possession, but now he's messed up for life.
Yeah, and now it's legal now, but they still not letting all these people back out of jail.
Exactly. Right. So can we teach him how to build a building?
Right.
Exactly. Or a house? Yeah. And so therefore he won't be, a victim of the system. So it's a conversation.
Yeah. And I feel like her story is proof that even in the 1800s, she was able to create opportunities for herself and do well, even better than other races of people. Not just Black people, because we always want to compare each other. Just, she's doing good for a Black person. No, she was doing good, period. Like to have a nice house and be able to care for other people's children in the 1800s, she's doing really well. So that's the stories we need to hear. And I also want to tell y'all about like the whole rabbit hole I got to where I ended up seeing y'all's video. I literally was in here. I'm at my mom's house. I was in here looking through a book, a biblical dictionary, and I just so happened to get into the J's. I'm reading down the J's, and I see Jemima, and I'm like, "What? This is in the Bible?" So I'll read the definition that I saw. It's a Hebrew word that means a dove, so that's very spiritual. And then she's the first of 3 daughters born to Job after his restoration from affliction. So I'm not sure y'all know about the story of Job, how he was a really good steward of God, and he was very wealthy, but God tested him and took everything away, had him sick, took all his children away.
There's a common phrase, "Oh, we got the patience of Job."
Exactly.
That's from the Bible. Yeah,
very powerful.
Yeah, and to know that Jemima is the first of the 3 daughters that he had after his restoration, it just gives me hope. Like this whole story and like really breaking it down, that's like that was the first daughter of this movement towards affluence, financial stability, like coming out of slavery and then going into being pretty wealthy for those times in the Great Depression.
Absolutely.
That's very powerful. So, and then I ended up seeing the video. And I'm like, oh Lord, let's do this.
Right. This was supposed to happen.
This is meant. So, do y'all have any finishing remarks, like anything that y'all have to say to Black movements or whatever the case may be? What are your last words?
Well, I think for me, and being the one of the oldest in our family who feel a heavy burden, where can we take this? Who can we talk to? How can we push this along? That's what I see. More communication, more talking to people, more advising them and letting them know. And seeing is there a real connect, someone who could help us get to that real connect with
a conversation with Pepsi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we need a real I'm going off the cuff a little bit, but I did see a video that was very interesting to me, to see one of the civil rights lawyers pick up a case from a woman who found that her one of her family members were slaves, and they had the pictures in Harvard.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did you see that?
I saw the thumbnail, but I didn't actually watch it yet.
Yeah, the picture. So she's suing because you utilized my family for
an racist
image. And this image was for a racist professor who was at Harvard, who wanted to show this is why we're less than a human being by utilizing these pictures. And the word came out for her suing was, that's what the word was.
Wow.
Reparations.
And I said, wow. Right. How close to that is am I? Yeah.
I definitely think the family is definitely owed a conversation and compensation. And I'm gonna stand by that 100%. But also some historical reference. There's so many ways they can go, but I think it definitely starts with a conversation and definitely the connection, like my mother said, of getting someone who can really connect those dots and can make that happen. Because, like I said, this fight has been going on since I can remember.
Yeah.
And it's not going to stop, because we're not going to stop. I mean, and at the end of the day, if it passes on to my children, we'll still be fighting for the lineage of Anna Short Harrington and Aunt Jemima.
Yeah. So Gail, Oprah,
somebody want to have a conversation? Absolutely.
We're open. The line is open. Just like you reached out to us, we're open to have a conversation. 100%.
And we appreciate it so much of being able to, there's something that we love to talk about and actually love to let people know, because people just don't have all the information.
Yeah. So this was awesome. I'm glad I had the opportunity. I will be putting it on my podcast, so I'll send y'all the links when everything is finished. So thank you so much. I hope this gets out to everybody.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. I'll see y'all later.